Hello everyone and welcome to Ginger Prime. My name's Brian if you're new around here, but if you're a returning subscriber, welcome back.
You magnificent beast, baby.
That's what you get for subscribing, by the way. Free compliments at the start of these videos. Now, in today's video, we're doing player feedback. This is where I go into the videos that you guys respond the most to. So right now, we're kind of looking at any video that gets 200 likes plus is a video that's really popular and that you guys have a lot of really good conversation on. And today's video is no different. This is Death of the Game reaction to Nerd Slayer Studios, in which we actually have Justin's top pin comment here saying that he asked for his half of the share of the revenue to go to the Fisher Foundation. And so by all means, that is something really exciting to see. And just kind of give you guys a heads up where we are. We're not yet at the full 30 days, but 63.69 is the amount of money that video has raised. And what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm actually going to go ahead and just give the whole thing to the Fisher Foundation. Good charity work is good charity work. And I think that if as a content community, and also just as a YouTube community, the more good that we can put out in the world, that's going to be what's worth it in the end. So just note that if you guys want to go add to that, you can feel free to go check out that video if you haven't seen it already. It's a long one, but that ad revenue, I'm going to take that and toss that over to them here in the next couple days as we kind of get to that 30-day kind of range. Typically, that's the length in which videos rock and roll. Now, like I said, this is player feedback. This is going to be driven off the conversation that you guys have put here in the comments alone. We got a couple of that basically are just saying at the top here are happy about the revenue share. And I think that's actually really good to see how many people are excited about that. The long story of it is that when I looked at the numbers of reaction content, it's clear to see that reaction content, there's a demand for it. And as a content creator who wants to continue to grow my channel, like and subscribe if you haven't already, guys, that means a lot to me. As somebody who loves making content and wants to put really good content and good things out in the world, I think that's really important. And that's actually what the numbers show. But there's still a complex issue, right? You're reacting to somebody else's hard work. How does that go about it? So I announced I was going to do 50% revenue share on reaction-based content. And yeah, that's going to continue on forward. And so in this case, we're actually just going to give 100% of the revenue away. Now, Kian actually kind of jumps in here, says, watch the Death of the Game's New World video yesterday. Really well done. Intro was gold. As for it being right, well, we'll see, I guess. I know how much that I love that Brian loves the game, and it's for all the best. Even New World doesn't make it, you'll still have the memories and hours of adventure and fun that the game has had for you. Not much the compensation, as it would become sad reality. And so in regards to compensation in this like complex issue of will a games as a service and MMO live or not live, I continue to advocate that content is key. Having content is the key to making and bringing people back to the game. I still think an expansion is absolutely required to do so, because an expansion communicates a lot. It gives the ability to add a bunch of new things to a game at one point in time, but also it gives that ability from a marketing perspective to bring people back in pre-expansion hype, and then obviously you have the expansion hype, and then you have that ultimate cycle. When I look at what MMOs have done and what the model really kind of is for the most people, you look at like Elder Scrolls Online with their yearly expansion, Final Fantasy 14 with the every other year expansion, but updates every, was 3.5, now it's about 4 months in its cycle. And so within that, those cycles allow people to dip out and dip back in. And that trust is that there will be a 7.0 or an 8.0 for Final Fantasy. Next year there'll be another expansion for ESO. And with that, it allows you to, as a player, make better decisions. One of the things I talk to a lot of New World players about, both potential starts and potential returns, is they're like, is the game still going to be here in a year? I don't want to put my time into a game in a community if Amazon's going to pull the plug. And that's the MMORPG death spiral. We see that happen a lot within MMOs, and it takes a lot of work and it takes a lot of investment and energy from a company to continue to pull out of that nosedive. And that's going to be something we have yet to see. This is going to be a great test for Amazon Game Studios if they're able to do that. Now, they continue to hire, they continue to drive people onto the team, and they have a roadmap of things that are coming, and the July update actually looks incredible, and it's going to probably appeal more to the casual side of myself as a player, but that doesn't mean that it's not going to have elements for everybody. But it's still, the game needs obviously a lot of content, and they've already fixed a lot of things, and ultimately, like to me, they've shown that they've got a great game, and that's actually I can echoes in the fact that people are interested in returning, and when they do return, they tell me like, oh my gosh, like this is so much better now. I really enjoy this. I really enjoy that. When is X or Y or Z coming? And when you start to think about X, Y, and Z as kind of rounding out the entirety of the game itself, in terms of its like core foundation and systems and features, like, yeah, New World has the potential to be really great, as my voice cracks and whatnot. But if it closes, yeah, I'm gonna be sad, because I love when games work. I love when games can thrive. I'm never rooting against a game. And I do that because I think it's healthy for the genres itself. If New World fails and they shut it down and Amazon themselves can't launch that game, then what are we left with? Right now, we'd be left with MMOs that are 10 plus years old. And then you're looking at this massive gap. And that concerns me for the future of the genre, not just for New World, but actually concerns me for Final Fantasy and for World of Warcraft and for all of the genre. Because if you're sitting here still just playing those same games 20 and 30 and 40 years from now, my concern is that has the genre been able to attract new players? Because if, unless you're, immortal and you're literally not aging, if you sound off if you are, where's that fountain of youth? But like the genre itself needs to continue to invite in players. Like, would my kids eventually step into the MMORPG? Maybe because of me, and that's something we might play together, but are they attracting in people from, like all walks of life? And the answer is, I don't think they are, but I could be wrong. But from every report and data that I've seen, it doesn't seem to kind of be going pro MMORPG. And so that's a long-winded answer. Let's continue on. Emerson says, I like your integrity in content creation. Always loved that you think about people and your actions have power to affect what you do. And honestly, this is such high praise. Because I put a lot of effort into what I call a value-driven content. Like, why does this video exist? Why does it need to exist? What is it going to give you, the viewer? What is it going to give the world in and of itself? And it might seem, like it might not seem genuine, because when it especially comes to content creation and social media, like there's the cynic in all of us, right? Like ultimately, like, okay, why does this thing exist is always kind of the question that I always try to put into place before I start scripting a video or start filming a video. Because ultimately, while I know I won't hit like that for everybody, not everybody's going to see every video I make and be like, oh, that really brought something good to my day. Ultimately, I try to make sure that it's like the purpose of the video is to educate or to bring context and like maybe compassion to some event that's happening, or essentially just like kind of bring in kind of a either like in a way like a devil's advocate kind of thought, or just more to the discussion itself. And so I do put a lot of effort into that. And when y'all see that, like, that makes me feel like a success as a content creator. So I appreciate that. Britton says, just reacted to the first few minutes. I played New World of the alpha, beta, and somewhat at launch. I found myself on launch tired of the content, though. Do not blame you at all, dude. Like, I can totally get it, especially if you played it pretty hardcore. Didn't really feel like grinding the player back up to level 60 and stop playing around level 35. That's one of the reasons why I didn't hit the alphas and betas hard. Like, I just was like, when the game launches, I'm going to take that investment, put in my character. I don't want to have to keep doing it. Anyway, players launch, played 24 hours all night, and then they come out with an expansion. I could 100% see myself getting back into New World, assuming that they have some decent arena PvP action and so forth. So they did add the arena PvP, and in July, they're adding in the group finder, they're adding in new dungeon, they're adding in, I think, probably more mutators, especially as a part of it. They're adding in the updated the salvage system, which actually sounds really great. So a lot of really cool bits and pieces that are being added in. They're adding in the new summer event, which I'm excited about to take part in. They still need a lot, and I keep providing that feedback. That's one of the things, like, I think I really enjoy about the MMO experience. Like, it's not about playing the most popular MMO. It's about playing the MMO where the developers have the closest relationship with the player, because I feel like we can hopefully help, influence and inspire and drive that level of feedback. But when it comes down to an expansion style system, I don't think it's even about the first expansion. While the first expansion will help communicate to players that they're in it for the long haul, I think essentially you also then follow that up with the second expansion and the third expansion, and you do that year over year over year. and you build that trust. And I think the foundation of New World is actually so solid that it has that magic. It has something unique that not other MMOs can offer, so it can stand out on its own rather than a clone. But they still got to put in the work, and the only way we'll know that is that they do that for a couple more years. Balabear says, refreshing to see what your take on how to handle reaction type content. I feel while nostalgia and established lore definitely plays a role into the intended success and downtime of many MMORPGs, although a lot of the hype I see for new and upcoming MMOs largely stands from people wanting something that is fresh and ambitious. And it's the concept of the next big MMO, people put that label on things, and it's kind of like it's almost like what we do with celebrities. You prop people up only to then cheer them as they eventually downfall. And that's one of the things when a lot of people look at the numbers that New World brought in and they're like, oh, it's dropped so many. It's like, I never viewed that they actually had that amount to begin with. Hype is a hell of a drug, and a lot of people end up kind of jumping on that train. And so ultimately, like when you kind of look at the first couple of months, New World had and launched with about 4 months worth of content. And I think the player population reflects that in terms of when people started to actually truly dip out outside of all the issues and the bugs. And people started really dipping out around January and February of the game. And then they came back for kind of March, April, which makes sense because you had new content, new weapons, things like that kind of drove people back in. And then they dip out again, especially with the arena PvP and PvP focused updates themselves. So I think overall, like, we'll continue to see the kind of this roller coaster. I think July might be a dip, but it's when July comes out, I don't think it's going to actually hit the March levels. I think what we'll end up seeing this fall will be the most interesting, as it will introduce the Great Sword, new dungeon, new story, new systems that kind of like feed into everything, new zones, new land, new areas. It'll be interesting to see what level of impact that has in the long run. But yeah, I think overall again, I'll keep saying it. Time will tell. Content is king. So let's keep it rocking and rolling. Zargason says, I took a break from New World and I played some other games, Lost Ark, back to WoW and more. And I came back a couple weeks ago and I remembered why I loved it so much and the launch of Beyond. This title is actually one of the best that I've played in years. The changes they made since launch are pretty amazing. I definitely need to have more time to develop though. I think the biggest issue of the game is the lack of content. The base is good, IMO, and I will continue to be better and better over time if they add more content. And then, yeah, I think that's perfect example of content is king. For sure. Leonex says, New World just needed another year or two development because of the entire game. From concept to play gameplay, it felt half-baked. Patience over greed, and this game could have been a massive success for years instead of short-term gains that they achieved. And instead, MMOs, for kind of as they trend, they usually take about 3 years to mature. Seems pretty standard based off of the market. And as it goes, when it comes down to like short-term games versus long-term games, Amazon wants to launch and they're working on other MMORPGs. And my general theory is that, let's say they did shut down New World. They said, all right, we gave it our best and we're going to shut it down, and it was a year and that was it. We said we're going to do 10 years, but we're going to do a year. Like, that doesn't have me excited or interested in their next MMORPG at all. Like, because what they do right now is how you build trust. So let's say, because MMOs, again, take about 3 years to mature. In fact, when you look at Lost Ark, the lesson there is launch it in another part of the world, let it run for 3 years, let them fix and add content and get everything kind of worked out, and then bring that to the globe, and then see how it is received. And overall, outside of the bot problem, it's received like incredibly well in terms of just like you factor out the bots, and still the largest MMO being played right now in North America. And just so, like, numbers aside, I know a lot of people put a lot of emphasis on the numbers in a service-based game, but really in reality, if you're having fun, that's actually kind of the key metric. But that comes at a cost of you do want to have fun, and you want to be in a place where you're like, there's going to be a future. And so, yeah, I think if you start to, if New World continues to invest, continues to bring content, they'll continue to build up that level of trust, which will let people actually feel like they can step back in. And then if they step back in and there's a mountain of content for them, then that cycle continues to go from there. But if they don't, then they won't, and then there's nothing to worry about it. Zix says, I'm hoping Pantheon and Ashes of Creation learn from other MMOs, 2 games I'm excited to play. I think I see a lot of that. Like, people typically say like, oh, they've seen how this works in other games and they should have this X, Y, and Z. But in reality, you're talking different teams, different leadership, different, different desires. And I think what you'll end up seeing is both with Pantheon and Ashes of Creation, the same level thing. The next big MMO, and that hype goes into it. And then, and essentially because you can't, like, outside of rare exception that you're going to not see the continual hype going up and up. And I think essentially you'll see a lot of people coming into the game for the hype, and then essentially realizing, especially with Ashes, that it's a sandbox based game. It's not a theme park based game. And I think the sand park, is kind of the perfect model, a blend between both. But I think you'll see people hitting that wall and then like, oh, I thought this was gonna be the next big thing. And then it's like, oh, it really isn't for me. And then essentially you start seeing people with the death spiral. Oh no, it's losing players. Oh no, it's losing players. Oh no, it's losing players. It's like, yeah, everyone does. The MMOs that are around had that spike, had that dip, and that's why they stopped reporting on these numbers completely. So as long as Ashes isn't, publicly visible in the numbers, then no one's going to care. People will try to speculate, but it's like at the end of the day, like if people are having fun and the game's making money, then they're going to be fine. And then essentially it'll hit its floor, and then if it adds in content, you'll see it slowly kind of build up, because again, it's all going to be about trust in the long run. Now, Make MMOs Great Again says, I'm a bit torn because this was such a good video, but it's about the death of New World, which I hope will make a comeback. And again, like, I think death in games is so much more personal than essentially global. While people are free to disagree, like if you're having fun in New World, or if you're wanting to check out the game, especially if you already own the game, it's free to update. You can go check it out. Like, you don't have to fully commit to MMOs anymore. And I think essentially you'll see MMOs shift into this model of the theme park-esque, or sorry, not theme park, the seasonal base model, in which that you have an expansion, people play the expansion. Some people stick around for kind of the, the post-expansion, parts, and then you have a new expansion hype, and then that kind of leads into it. But maybe that's just my Final Fantasy 14 player and me speaking. Now, Brandon Sky says, consequently, I just played New World on the priority level of GeForce Now, and it works. Sure, it sounds, the sound might cut out sometimes, and how the game streaming goes in my directional movement might be a bit awkward at times, but it works, and I can finally enjoy doing bleep in this game at my own pace without nuking my laptop. Quick update, I also played Lost Ark, and I'm totally convinced that it was just New World problem, because Lost Ark runs 150% fine, even when a crowded piledrome, and the crowded means mean bots running around the gear merchant. Now, for my case, like, I actually also play New World on GeForce Now on my downstairs computer, and like, it's not a gaming machine, and it works great. Like, I actually haven't had any of the problems that Brandon has talked about. Now, I guess we'll do one last comment here, and then we'll wrap up this video, and hopefully you guys enjoy. You're right to say it's not fair to assume New World was made in a vacuum where the devs didn't play MMOs at all. But if they did, it's pretty clear that they didn't take the time to break down what made those MMOs good and pick out features that would harmonize with their design ideals. The fact that they felt that they needed to remove features that were getting positive feedback for the sake of more easily broadening their audience, and treated historically proven features from other MMOs as novel concepts, then they were brought up by alpha testers, is proof of that. I don't think it's proof of that. I think essentially you're looking at two different types of genre. Like New World isn't trying to be World of Warcraft, and a lot of WoW players, like, who were like coming out of WoW and mad and angry and hating the game, even though you go look at the WoW numbers, and the game is, despite all the drama, like, it is still like an insane massive game. Like, most of the people who I see in Final Fantasy complain about WoW players, it's like, I think the people complaining the loudest are WoW, or used to be WoW players, or probably will be, and kind of ease in and out of the game itself. But no, I think essentially, like, there's a lot of assumptions that come into play. Just because also, like, it ends up not feeding the thing that you wanted doesn't mean that thing is good or bad, right? Like, I'm a Final Fantasy 11 veteran, but the developer and someone who looks at the industry and themselves realizes that sandbox isn't the biggest thing. And so what you end up seeing is that Amazon's also recognizing this in terms of numbers and wanting to grow those numbers, and kind of bringing in more theme park-esque elements, which brings in more numbers and more attention. The problem with theme park is it requires a massive amount of content flow, and unless you're prepared to deliver that, no. So would New World have benefited from yet another years long delay? Well, maybe, if it gave them another year's long worth of content, but they also probably wouldn't got the massive amount of feedback that they've gotten with real player data and more. The question again is in how the game launched. Like, nothing that has happened has been surprising. It's all actually, as I said, it would happen. It was like, and the fact that there's, haven't been just like at 5,000, concurrent players and less, like, is mind-boggling in terms of just like, I guess, the sheer connection rate that people actually have to the game. I thought they were going to go right down to 5,000 pretty quickly. And their launch in and of itself was much larger than I anticipated, but all in terms of numbers, like, it is going to be how it goes. And as far as it goes, when it comes down to feedback, like, feedback is feedback. You take it, you understand it, and then you make a decision. It doesn't mean that like they're sitting here ignorantly making some of these decisions. We're making assumptions based off of them. And I think when you go listen to their dev blogs and feedback, like their monthly dev updates, like, it really shows. Like, I think they really understand. I think they've made a really good game. I think essentially, as part of MMOs though, you need more than 4 months worth of content at launch, and that shows in the numbers. Now, when it comes to an expansion, I hope that if they do release an expansion, it does have, I mean, at most you probably see people burn through it easily within a couple of months, because that's just how gamers consume it. So it wouldn't be just about the expansion launch date. It would be coming up with that. When do they have release updates? And right now they've been kind of every other month with a big update. And I'm wondering if we'll end up seeing them shift into like every 3 months or something like that, where you might start having little half patches and more. But at the end of the day, we'll be sure to cover it. Guys, that's it for this player feedback. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Hopefully you have a wonderful week, and I'm looking forward to checking out all your comments and more when I get back next week. Anyway, guys, love you faces. Thanks for watching. Hopefully I see you in my next video, but until then, take care.
Yeah. It's time to chill out on the couch and read some comments. That's right. You know me when it comes to Destiny. I'm off with a clan, and I'm glad you're feeling better. Oh yeah.